together. That's what they need us to believe. Just keep believing that alone, that we have to be divided. Don't get close to your enemy, like Churchill said. Don't get close to those communists and explain to them that you hate crony capitalism just as much, maybe more, because nothing happens in a vacuum, and it's largely responsible for creating all the communists out there. Is this hatred for capitalism? People don't understand. My people perish through lack of understanding. Isn't that what's written in the Bible? That's what's happening to all of us. And who are my people? All of us. It's the homeless people that are going to die out on the streets tonight. That's my people. The heart of God is with the downtrodden, with the displaced, with the disenfranchised. Let's have a heart for one another. Really give a damn, folks. Really love one another and prove it by our actions. Live by the golden rule. But I like kind of being a nobody and sitting back in the shadows and just doing my little thing and letting good and decent, upright people mooch off me, man. That's all I want, just like Jesus, man. I mean, just mooch, man. Just take it and run and just let's spread it out there, man. Goodwill toward men. And let this thing evolve. Let it change on God's terms. And let us just be instruments for that change. Because it's coming. And you know what? I mean, I could help on a very tangible. The reason I got my real estate license is because I wanted to get into truly affordable housing. That's it. I wanted to start building neighborhoods. I circumvent the high cost of real estate by building modular housing. They look just like regular housing, and they're better for floods because they're raised off the ground. But technically, by the law, there's a loophole that it's technically a modular house, a mobile home, if you will. And it's on a chassis. It could be moved easily, which would also be good in an event of a natural disaster. So it's got benefits, and they're tough. They're built to go down the road, and they're a lot cheaper than paying the labor costs and everything for a house that's that's a permanent structure with a foundation, let's say. So it's good. I had a dream of building these neighborhoods, but you need a lot of money, and it's so political, not Democrat, Republican political, but political with the Chamber of Communists. Are they, they're apolitical, right? They, just like all these, I claim apolitical. I'm not, biased in either way. But you see, businesses are always good, right? We're always push this crap, but it's not. Not if they're against affordable housing. Okay, against drying up homelessness, fixing the problem, fixing the hole in the gas tank as opposed to letting it leak like a sieve more and more and more. Okay, so take half of that HUD money and start giving it to guys like me to start putting the ball into motion. Just pay me a little bit. I don't need a lot. I've got a very low cost of living. I can live on very little. I don't care. You know what? I mean, I'm looking so forward to the day when none of us care about money at all. Really, God knows that's true. I really want that day to come when we've got full prosperity, full freedom, full contentment, full peace and security and liberty, and we just don't care about money at all. Nobody's got an upper hand anymore. We're living as equals. Individual as it can be, definitely. But, equal. Just equal in the sense that this is the way God wants us to think of each other. Equally beloved by Him. Equally entitled and righted by Him. Not by some man, by laws we got to make, okay? We live by our conscience. We abide by our conscience, our integrity, and we serve each other of our own free will and accord because it's instinctual. It's a natural occurrence. So when you let natural capitalism work, which is true capitalism, free market supply and demand, what tends to happen without being forced is your currency goes up in worth. That's the evidence. So, let's admit that in the aggregate, not just spotty here and there. Well, who cares about VCRs, right? Who cares that VCRs have plummeted? They're worth about 1%, really, literally. Do the math yourself. But if you look at the value of $1,000, 37 years ago, and, what it cost for a VCR, which didn't have a DVD player, by the way, and a VCR with a DVD player today, that's $100, okay? Then yes, it's worth about 1%. So that means your VCR dollars have gone up by 99% in worth. I mean, it's incredible. It staggers the mind. But this is what's supposed to happen. This what would happen. So what would the communists fear? If you're real and you believe in socialism and Robin Hood and all this stuff, you know, the downtrodden, well then, you know, why aren't you champions of the really poor, the desperate, the homeless out there? They're going to bring these points up to these crony capitalists. You say, this is why I hate capitalism. You know, you communists, explain to them why. You know, but get real. If you're real, you're real. Then I'll support you. I'm on your side too. You're the humanity. That's why I'm on your side. We're all humanity here. We've all got to give a crap about each other. That's it. That's how we're going to come together. That's how we're going to do what Churchill said. Stay close to your friends, but even closer to your enemies. We've got to fix this thing. We've got to admit that the rulers, these overlords, are evil, and the last thing they want is for us to figure this out and fix our problems and understand we can get along together. Yep, we've got to admit the human nature sucks, that we have very bad characteristics inherently. We have to turn to God to help us change those. We're selfish, self-centered, narcissistic, egotistic, conceited. We're masters, I believe, born masters of self-deceit. Okay, we want to see things the way we want to see things, and that's that. So we've got to break through our own dark veils that we have within our own heart. What does the Bible say about this? The heart is deceitfully wicked above all else. Let all men be called liars, but God can't lie. You know? So, you know, but we have a good side too. I mean, we've got to, you know, also be forgiving to ourselves and show grace and mercy just the way that God does too. And say, look, yes, I'm weak and feeble and needy, and you know, sometimes I fall, and but, you know, there's other things I wouldn't do no matter what. You couldn't pay me enough because I value my conscience above all. I value my integrity, my soul above all else. And I won't do that thing for any amount of money. We've got to understand that this is not our lives, okay? That our lives belong to God, okay? That's very fundamental to understanding the right paradigm, to really come out of Babylon, out of confusion, out of ignorance, and to be empowered and to face reality. It's traumatic, and collectively we're experiencing that. Individually, we're also experiencing it. And those that have been watching this thing for the longest, saying, I know this thing has got to give sooner or later, one way or another, sooner or later, it's got to give. Good has to prevail in this thing. You know, they're the most ready, and it's least traumatic for those people. And I've been, you know, watching this thing for a long time, and it's still very traumatic for me when I see the collective upwelling, this, you know, what's going on in society. You know, this division has just reached a fevered pitch now. So, you know, it's really a bad thing that, you know, we have to face. But we have to also give ourselves a break at times and just say, look, I have a good side too, and that's the side I have to go out there and help win people to understanding, to taking their share of responsibility for this mess, and just now that we know it, now that we know the root source of the problems, confront it and fix it, knowing there is a fix. We've got to be empowered with that knowledge, confident, and say, yes, it's going to be painful for a lot of people, but one way or another, sooner or later, this is what has to happen here. We've got to start saving lives. But we've got to understand that my fears are your fears are my fears. Your welfare is my welfare is your welfare. We've got to look at this thing as a family, as a whole unit. I've just got about 2 minutes left on my tape, but I'm seriously thinking about putting in another tape because I'm not through talking today. You know, I also wanted to mention, I've been talking about people in different careers, different jobs, and, you know, minimizing their worth. Well, I prefaced it by saying, look, for now, the jobs are very, like the media, it's very important that we get accurate news out there. The job that the InfoWars does is very important. So I support a lot of jobs that are going to be useless later, okay? The social welfare industry is very critical that we have this industry now. This is the only thing that's absorbing the shock of what these murderous gaggle of thugs want to do. They want to commit genocide upon the earth. So we've got to get that fundamentally, that we're up against some monsters here. Bloodthirsty, genocidal freaks, okay? That's who they are. Pseudo-intellectuals, hypocrites, liars, thieves, you name it. Okay, that's who these people are. So, while there's very important jobs, but when we have peace on earth, we're not going to need the military. Okay, when we have very low crime, we're going to need few law enforcement officers. When we have no debt, we're not going to need people, servicing the debt. Okay, so, but I want to shout out to all the unsung heroes out there that are just doing just run-of-the-mill jobs, okay, working in factories, these jobs that are critical to the welfare of society. Out there, the farm workers, just regular everyday people, guys out there pounding nails, building houses, digging ditches, whatever, fixing the roads. All these jobs are very important, working in the grocery stores, working in the service industries, in the restaurants out there. All these jobs are great. I mean, those jobs, we're always going to need people working in those industries. There's certain industries that we're always going to need people working in. But if there's less work, there's less work. What does that mean? You're just more free. You're free to explore your potential. So anyhow, I want to end this tape right here and get on to the next one.